Welcome back to week 3 of CMS Esports and STEM League. This is week 3 of the STEM competition. And this time you guys are starting to build in Thunkable, which is a no-code app builder that's free to use, and it's very easy to get started. So in case you haven't already, go ahead and head over to thunkable.com and make an account. Now, there is a lesson document that you guys should have already looked through that kind of taught you some basic coding logic, such as, what are variables? Those are things that hold data. What are if statements? This kind of control the flow of the program. If this, then do that kind of stuff, as well as some more functions in Thunkable itself. So we're actually going to go ahead and look at, how to get started in Thunkable, since this is the first week that you guys are using it. So the first screen you guys are going to see is the design screen, right? This is where you're going to have all your different screens, which each one is its own kind of like setup with buttons and pictures, and they all serve a different purpose, right? And then below that, you're going to see the add component screen over here on the left. This is where you can pick and choose which components you want to put on a screen. So this is my start screen, then I kind of want a button here, for people to click that says start, and maybe I want a text label so I could tell people the name of the application that they just opened, right? So that's where we're going to do that. And of course, each component has its own properties over here on the right, like the button. You could change the background color to red or orange or whatever, right? So this is your basic design stuff. And let's go ahead and add another screen with the plus button up here. But also in the top left, there is a blocks tab. Now this is where you saw all of the example nodes in the document there, teaching about the variables and functions and all that jazz. This is where you add, your logic to your project. So let's go ahead and look at our project here. You notice we've got two screens. One is the start screen. So let's go ahead and make this label. Let's say my app. This is my app, right? And this button down here, we want users to press so that they can get started. So we'll say that this button has the word start because we want people to start, right? And then our second screen is where, people are actually going to be using our application. So we'll just put a text label here that says, you did it. Great, cool. So the first piece of functionality that you guys should have learned is how to navigate between screens. Because right now, if I go ahead and preview this app, and by the way, in order to preview and see what your app does, up here in the top right, you click the little play button. That will simulate the app in your browser for you to test, right? This is what it would look like on a phone. So right now there's no way for us to get to another screen. So we're just stuck on the start screen. What we need to do is navigate to that second screen using the start button. So if we go ahead and head over to here on blocks, you'll see here in the top left that we've got a list of every component, that being the button and the text label, that it's in our screen. And if you want to change screens and work on another screen, you click screen 2 to see this only has that one label, whereas screen 1 has both a label and a button. So we want to navigate the screen to the second screen using the button. So if we click on button, you'll see we have a few different trigger blocks that we can use. We're going to use the when button 1 is clicked trigger. So all of the blocks that are housed within this node will activate whenever the user clicks button 1. And of course, button 1 is this start button right here. And if you go to control here, to the control blocks, you'll see that there is a navigate to block. This is what we need. And we'll actually set it to screen 2. So whenever the user clicks the button 1, it's going to navigate to screen 2. And if we go ahead and test our app, we'll see that when we click start, there you go. It navigates screens. Yep. So that's the first piece of logic that you guys should have picked up on here so far. So a really common thing that you're going to want users to do is to be able to choose from a list of options. So here we got our start screen, and let's say we want the user to be able to choose where to go in our app with like a list, right? So we would accomplish that with one of the components over here called a list viewer. Now if we drag and drop it into here, it's not going to look like much, but that's because we need to add some options to it. And when we add options, it's going to appear as a scrollable list. So it's going to be a box that houses a bunch of different options for our user to choose from. And if there's more than they can fit on there, they can scroll through and they'll be able to pick what they want. So in order to add some options for them to choose from, we need to go over here in the properties panel and on the right and add some text items. So let's say the first one is, let's just call it screen 3 because they'll be navigating to screen 3. So screen 3, and we'll click add text item. And then you'll see here it just created another little box that has the text item in it. And if we add screen 4, you'll see it'll generate another, so that way we can tell which items are in the list. And of course, if we click that little X, it will remove it from the list, right? So let's add screen 4, and let's just do 3 options. So screen 3, screen 4, and screen 5, right? So now we have our list. And if we go ahead and test this, you'll see that we can click on them, but it doesn't really do much because we haven't added any functionality to it. Let's go ahead and just generate some more screens, and we'll throw in a number just so we can tell that we're going to the right screen whenever we log in. Yep, we'll change this to 4 and 5. All right, so now that we have our screen set up, we can go ahead and add some functionality to these buttons in this list here. So let's go ahead and go over to the blocks tab, and then we'll have another component here that says list viewer 1. So when you click on the component itself, you'll see a when list viewer 1 item click node, and what this does is whenever a item any item in that list is clicked, so screen 3, screen 4, or screen 5 is clicked, it will trigger, right? And it also has these two variables that we can drag off and use inside here, so that way we can tell which button is being used or which list item is being clicked, right? So what we want to do is add a if statement, right? If statements are things that check a variable to see if it's like true or not, and depending on, you know, if it is or not, it will do something or do something else. So right now we want to add an if else because we have 3 options, and what we're going to do is see if the index of whatever button it clicked is the one that we're looking for. So for example, we're going to check to see if they clicked screen 3, screen 4, or screen 5 using the index. And the index starts at 1, which means the first option is number 1, has an index of 1. The second option here, which is screen 4, has an index of 2, and so on. We're actually going to use index to see whether or not it is the button that we want, right? So how we're going to do that is we're going to use a logic block that says if 2 things are equal. Now, it's important to know that index is a number, right? As we just talked about, it's going to be 1 or 2 or 3. And since we have 3 if blocks right here, that's essentially what they are, we're going to check to see if it's 1 or 2, and if it's not either of those 2 options, then it has to be 3. That's why we have the else here, right? So we need a number, which we can find in the math tab. Right now it says 0. We're going to change it to 1. And cool trick, if you just click a block, you can copy and paste it. That way you don't have to keep on dragging for the tabs. And we'll change this number to 2. So right here we have an if it's the first option. If not, then if it's the second option, otherwise it has to be the third option. And then these little grooves where the blocks are going to go is what's going to trigger depending on what index it is, right? So obviously if they click screen 3, which is the first item, we're going to want it to move to screen 3. So we are going to use that block that we learned about earlier, which is the navigate to screen. So if they click the first item, we want it to move to screen 3. And again, we want that functionality for the rest of them. If it's 2, it's screen 4. And if not, it has to be the third option, which is screen 5. All right, so now let's go ahead and test our app, starting from the main screen. So we open the app and it says, my app, this is my app. And we have a start button. Okay, let's go ahead and hit start. We did it, congratulations. Now we need to choose which screen we want to go to. Do we want to go to screen 3, screen 4, screen 5? Let's go to screen 3. And as you can see, screen 3 opened. So that's how you can use list viewers to give users an option to choose from a list. Now, obviously your list doesn't have to navigate users to another page or another screen. However, it's probably going to be useful so you can have people choose where they want to go in your app. Thank you so much for watching. Come back next week for some more building tips and tutorials, and I'll see you there.